Would you know right away when your beloved dog is trying to say goodbye? Most pet owners believe they would, but the truth is over 90% miss the most important signs. What's heartbreaking isn't that you didn't care enough or didn't love them deeply. It's that dogs don't cry, don't beg, and don't use words to say how they feel. They choose silence, hiding their pain in the most ordinary behaviors. Imagine looking into the eyes of the dog who's been by your side for years. Eyes that once lit up with joy every time you came home now seem distant, quiet. Or maybe you fill their food bowl, but the familiar click-clack of paws on the floor never comes. These little moments might seem small, but to your dog they're a quiet whisper, "I'm getting ready to go." In this video, we'll explore 10 signs that your dog may be slowly saying goodbye, signs that most owners don't recognize until it's too late. From a look in their eyes to labored breathing to choosing a hidden corner to lie in, each carries a silent message. But this isn't just meant to make you sad. In fact, it's a chance to recognize when your dog needs you most. Their entire life, dogs give us loyalty and unconditional love. They deserve to receive that same presence and love in their final days. So as you listen to each sign, don't just hear it with your mind. Open your heart, because your attention today may become the last gift you give to your faithful four-legged friend. And the first sign, it's not in a bark or a wagging tail, it's in the eyes, the mirror of their soul. Eyes that speak. There's something extraordinary about a dog's eyes. They hold more than words ever could. They carry love, loyalty, and sometimes silent goodbyes. You may be used to seeing that bright, joyful sparkle in their eyes every time you walk through the door. But one day you'll notice that look is no longer the same. Their gaze may become deeper, lingering longer, as if they're trying to memorize your face. Some dogs do the opposite. They avoid eye contact, turning away, as if afraid you'll see the pain they're quietly bearing. These reactions may seem opposite, but they speak the same message: their time is running out. Many people dismiss this change, thinking, maybe he's just tired, or she must be daydreaming. But it's the silence that speaks volumes. Dogs don't fake things with words, they express everything through their eyes. And once their gaze changes, it's no longer just a look. It becomes a bridge, one that ties you to the present and at the same time hints at a journey from which they won't return. Many pet owners later say they didn't notice until it was too late. They remember their dog looking at them for a little longer or turning away, and only afterward did they realize it was the final goodbye. The painful truth is, you'll never forget that look. It stays etched in your memory, heavier than 1,000 words. Don't brush off that moment. If one day your dog looks at you differently, longer, deeper, or with a distant gaze, pause and listen with your heart. That may be the moment they're gently saying goodbye before you even realize it. And if the eyes can hold such meaning, wait until you see the next sign, when your dog quietly slips away to a hidden corner away from your sight. That isn't random, it's an ancient instinct and a sign of something even harder to accept: hiding away in the shadows. One day, you might notice that your familiar home feels strangely empty. The dog who once sprawled on the couch or curled up by your feet is no longer there. You call their name, but there's no sound of paws tapping the floor, no wagging tail to greet you. Then you find them not in their usual spots, but tucked away in a hidden corner, under the bed, behind a pile of clothes, or curled up in a dark, quiet space they'd never paid attention to before. At first you might think, maybe they just wanted a quiet place to rest. But the truth is far more heartbreaking. In the wild, wolves, the ancestors of dogs, often separate from the pack to hide when they're sick or near death. This survival instinct runs deep in their blood. Even if your dog has lived their whole life in warmth and safety, that primal urge can awaken when their body begins to weaken. What's painful is that this act of withdrawal isn't because they've stopped loving you. Quite the opposite, it's because they love you that they choose to hide. In their little minds, disappearing feels like protection, sparing you from watching them fade, preserving your memory of them full of life and energy. That's why so many people miss this sign. They think their dog is just switching up their nap spot or looking for a cool, quiet corner. But the reality is different. When a dog that has spent its life by your side suddenly chooses distance, hiding away from your familiar touch, it's not by chance. It's a heartbreaking whisper. I don't want this burden to hurt you. So if you notice your dog suddenly prefers to hide, don't ignore it. Don't leave them alone in the shadows. Sit beside them, Gently place your hand on their trembling fur and let them know you're still here no matter what comes. Because once your dog starts hiding, other signs will begin to appear. Even the things that once reassured you, like a wagging tail or a quiet sigh, might no longer mean what you think. And that leads us to the next sign, one that's familiar yet so easily misunderstood by the heart. Changing breaths and movements. For years you've grown used to the small familiar sounds of your dog, the sigh after a long day of play, the joyful wag of the tail when you come home, the little groan as they curl up to rest. These sounds were once the rhythm of peace, quiet signs that everything was okay. But one day those very same signals may carry a completely different meaning. A slowly wagging tail no longer eager or full of energy may not mean happiness. Sometimes it's how a dog tries to stay calm to self-soothe when their body aches. That sigh you've always taken as a sign of contentment, it might be a quiet attempt to ease discomfort. Even those soft groans when they shift positions, once thought endearing, might actually be whispers of pain they can't express in words. What makes this so hard is that these signs feel so familiar. They make you believe your dog is fine, still happy, still the same. You breathe a sigh of relief. At least he's wagging his tail. At least she's still sighing like always. But sometimes that calmness is just a mask. Dogs are wired to hide their pain, not to deceive you, but to protect you. They don't want you to worry. Many people only understand this truth when it's too late, when they look back and remember how the once strong tail barely moved, how the sighs were deeper, heavier, and how those were not signs of peace but silent cries for help. What you thought meant comfort was really a quiet note of sorrow, a soft warning song of a coming goodbye. So if you notice your dog changing the way they move, tail wagging, slower sighing more often, or letting out gentle groans when lying down, pay attention. It may not just be a habit, it might be how they're enduring pain in silence. And when you realize that, stay close. Your presence is the only comfort they have left. But even these changes in breath and movement are not the hardest signs to witness, because sometimes as the body weakens, a dog may begin to act in ways that are completely unlike the gentle soul you've always known. And that's when the most heartbreaking behaviors start to appear. Unusual irritability. You've grown used to your dog's gentle nature, the affectionate nuzzles, the patience when children tug on their ears, the way their tail lovingly wraps around your legs. But one day you reach out to pet them just like you've done 1,000 times before, and instead of trusting eyes, you see them flinch. Maybe they let out a low growl. Maybe they bare their teeth or suddenly pull away from your touch. And in that moment, you're shaken. Is this really the same dog I've raised all these years? The truth is, they haven't stopped loving you. What's changed is their body. As age and illness take hold, aching joints, labored breathing, and a sluggish, confused nervous system can make even familiar sensations feel strange or threatening. They become restless, unsettled. And without the words to explain what they're feeling, the only response they have left is resistance, a growl, a snap, or sudden withdrawal. It's easy to misunderstand. Some people assume their dog has become grumpy, irritable, or hard to deal with now that they're old. But these aren't signs of a personality change. They're signs of helplessness, a body that's become foreign, a mind trying to cope. That once gentle dog, now suddenly short-tempered, is actually trying to say, "I'm hurting. I'm tired. I don't know how to make you understand." This isn't easy to accept, especially for someone who's loved them for so many years. But if it happens, take a deep breath and remember, this isn't rejection. It's a painful signal that their body is fighting hour by hour. What they need most in that moment isn't guilt or sadness, it's patience. Give them a safe space. Be softer with your touch. Watch closely for other signs. These small shifts in temperament are often a turning point. After a period of anxiety and resistance, many dogs gradually slip into quiet exhaustion. And when they begin to stop caring for themselves the way they used to, that's the next sign, a silent warning that their life force is slowly fading. Stopping self-care. If you've ever had a dog, you know their small endearing habits, rolling in the grass to clean their coat, licking their paws after a walk, shaking themselves off after a bath to feel neat and fresh again. It's not just about cleanliness, it's instinct. Dogs are creatures that know how to care for themselves. But then one day you notice their once smooth coat has grown dull and rough. Mats of tangled fur appear. Strange odors linger even though you've kept up with their grooming. You might tell yourself, maybe it's just age, or maybe I haven't brushed them enough. But the heartbreaking truth is when a dog stops taking care of itself, it often means they're running out of energy to keep living. The post-nap shakes disappear. The little rituals, licking a paw, scratching an ear, rubbing against the couch, become rare. Their body begins to let go of the routines it's known its entire life. Not out of laziness, but because even the simplest actions now require strength they no longer have. It's easy to overlook this sign, to believe that a thorough bath might fix things. But if you look closer, you'll see the change isn't in the fur. It's in the eyes. In the way their body sags heavy with fatigue. It's surrender to the very things that once gave them freedom and joy. The moment you realize your dog no longer has the strength to care for itself, know that their body is quietly sending you a warning. And what often follows next is one of the most painful signs of all. The food bowl, once eagerly emptied, now sits untouched. The full bowl, left untouched. Throughout the years you've spent together, perhaps the most familiar sight has been your dog racing to their food bowl at the sound of kibble hitting the dish. The tapping paws, the wildly wagging tail, those eager, sparkling eyes, all signs of simple joy brimming with life. For dogs, eating isn't just a need, it's a daily ritual, a reassuring reminder that they're healthy, happy, and still right here with you. But then one day the bowl is still full and there are no footsteps rushing over. They sniff the food half-heartedly and walk away. The next day, maybe they nibble a bit. Then the day after, nothing at all. You try switching the food, adding meat, doing everything you can to tempt them. Sometimes they eat a few bites and you feel a flicker of hope, but it fades quickly when the next day the bowl sits untouched again. This is the cruel cycle of hope and reality. The truth is, as the body begins to shut down, the digestive system slows and the desire to eat fades away. Some dogs will even try to chew a few bites just to ease your worry, as if to say, I'm only eating so you won't be sad. And then one day, when they no longer have the strength to pretend, they stop completely, leaving the full bowl as a silent, unspoken goodbye. This moment can break a dog owner's heart. You stare at the untouched food and finally realize what you've been avoiding all along. Your time together is coming to an end. It's no longer about favorite flavors, it's a sign their body is preparing to say goodbye. If you witness this, don't blame them for being picky or lazy. Sit down beside them. Try offering food by hand, but more importantly, let your presence be the comfort they need most, because when food no longer matters, your love is the only thing that still does. And soon, it won't just be the meals that change, even those walks, once the highlight of their day, will begin to carry a different tone. Heavy walks, slower steps. If there's anything dogs love as much as being by your side, it's going for walks. Just the sound of a leash jingling is enough to make their eyes light up and their body bounce with excitement. Every step is an adventure, every blade of grass, every alleyway holds a new world to explore. Walks aren't just exercise. They're a celebration of life, a language of freedom. But one day you'll notice that something has changed. The leash still jingles, but the spark is gone. They walk slowly, stop often, their gaze drifting into space. Instead of pulling you forward, the leash now hangs loose and heavy, as if carrying a truth too hard to say. Sometimes they collapse onto the ground mid-walk, refusing to go further, as if the earth itself is asking them to rest. Other times, they walk just a few steps before turning back, no longer interested in the world outside. Many owners brush this off as laziness or simply say, they're old, they just don't like going far anymore. But if you look closely, you'll notice a more subtle truth. This isn't about laziness, it's the body saying it can't keep going. What's most heartbreaking is that these heavy, slow steps often go unnoticed until the memories come flooding back and you realize these were the final walks they gave you as a gift. Each slow step, each pause, was a quiet punctuation mark in the long story you've shared. If you see your dog losing joy in their walks, don't force them. Let them choose the pace. Stop when they need to. And simply be with them in that moment. Because sometimes a short, quiet walk by your side means more than 100 grand adventures ever did. But the signs aren't always in the eyes or food or footsteps. Sometimes they're in the breath, heavy, labored, a reminder that their body is struggling for every beat of life. And that brings us to the final sign. The 10 signs we've explored are more than just changes in body or routine. They are whispers the way your loyal dog shares their love and their quiet readiness for the final journey. The saddest part is that most of us miss them not because we don't care, but because dogs always choose silence to shield the ones they love from pain. If today you've recognized even one of these signs in your dog, don't panic. See it as a chance to be more present, to hold them a little closer, and to let them know they will never face their last days alone. Because your presence, your gentleness is the final gift they long for most. And now I want to ask you for a small gesture with a big meaning. Leave your dog's name in the comments. Let the world remember them, whether they're still curled at your feet or resting in a place beyond. Every name is a story. Every name is love. Every name is family. If this video touched your heart, please like and subscribe, not for us, but for all the dogs who are living, loving, and one day will quietly say goodbye. Because when this love is shared, their memory lives on forever.